DNA, what is DNA profiling, what are the uses of DNA profiling, what are the legal provisions of DNA profiling test. DNA stands for a deoxyribonucleic acid, the strand of identity that living being received from their ancestors outside of identical twins. No two people have the same DNA pattern. DNA fingerprinting also has certain distinctive features. 1987, the DNA fingerprinting was utilized as a tool for a criminal investigation to establish the blood relations and trace medical history. Investigators would find anonymous DNA at the crime scene and compare it with the DNA of suspect for possible matches. Then the investigator would generally use a swab to collect bodily substances from a suspect mouth to match it with the DNA collected from the crime scene. Prior to the use of DNA, identification was heavily based on fingerprint, footprint, blood, or other device that a suspect may have left behind after committing a crime. The process of matching suspects' DNA with the DNA found at a crime scene has provided both law enforcement agencies and court officials with a higher probability of ascertaining the identity of offenders. DNA fingerprinting has been very useful for law enforcement as it has been used to exonerate the innocent. Unlike blood found at a crime scene, DNA material remains unstable for an endless period of time. DNA technology can be used even on decomposed human remains to identify the victim. Clinical trial and medical research has long been an important area of medical sciences as it has been referred in the large number of mythological and historical texts and scriptures. Charaka Samhita, textbook of medicine, and Susruta Samhita, textbook of surgery, dating back to 200 BC and 200 AD respectively, locus on India's age-old provisions in medical sciences. Today, there are a number of laws which govern clinical research in India. There are shortcomings in the existing legal provision with regard to identification of individuals for specified purposes, such as victims of disasters, missing persons, etc. The Department of Biotechnology came up with a draft bill titled The Use and Regulation of DNA-Based Technology in Civil and Criminal Proceedings, Identification of Missing Person and Human Remains Bill 2016. On 27 September 2016, the draft bill was forwarded to the Law Commission of India for examination and its revision if required. DNA profiling technique, which is based on a proven scientific principle, have been found to be very effective for social welfare, particularly in enabling the criminal justice delivery system to identify the offenders. Such a test relating to a party would definitely constitute corroborative evidence. Appreciating the use and regulation of DNA-based technology in judicial proceeding, particularly identification of the person accused of offense under the Indian Penal Code 1860 and other laws, identification of missing person and disaster victim apart from its use in medical sciences. A need has long been felt to have a special legalization to regulate human DNA profiling. DNA analysis offers substantial information which, if is misused or used improperly, may cause serious harm to individuals and the society as a whole. Uses of DNA profiling. DNA profiling, an accurate and well-established scientific technique, is used for disaster victim identification, investigation of crimes, identification of missing person and human remains, and for the medical research purpose. Most of the countries have enacted appropriate law within the framework of their respective constitution and other legal framework for the aforesaid purposes. DNA profiling and use therefore involves various legal and ethical issues. Concerns are raised and apprehension exists in the mind of the common man about its misuse, which unless protected may result in disclosure of personal information such as health-related data capable of being misused by person having prejudicial interest, adversely affecting the privacy of the person. The mechanism provided permit for processing DNA sample only for 13 code is located, which could not violate in any way the privacy of a person. As a result, will never go beyond identification of a particular person. The strict adherence to 13 code is located will eliminate the apprehension of revealing genetic trait. The Code of Criminal Procedure Amendment Act 2005, which came into force on 23rd June 2006, added to explanation to section of 53, 53A, 54 to clarify the scope of medical examination, particularly in respect to the extraction of the bodily substance, and the explanation provided that examination of a person shall include the examination of blood stain, semen swab in case of sexual offences, sputum, sweat, hair samples, and fingernail clipping by scientific technique including DNA profiling and such other tests that the medical practitioner deems necessary. DNA profiling test. DNA profiling test. DNA profiling technique has been expressly included among the various forms of medical examination. The amended explanation to section 53, 53A, 54 CRPC. It also be clarified that a DNA profile is different from a DNA sample, which can be obtained from a bodily substances. A DNA profile is a record created on the basis of DNA sample made available to forensic expert. Creating and maintaining DNA profile of offenders and suspects are useful practice since newly obtained DNA samples can be readily matched with existing profile that are already in the possession of law enforcement agencies. The matching of DNA sample is emerging as a vital role for linking suspect to specific criminal act. As per the majority decision, Katti Kalu Ogad, State of Bombay, Katti Kalu Ogad or 1961 section 1802-08, the use of material samples such as fingerprinting for the purpose of comparison and identification does not amount to a testimonial act for the purpose of Article 20 subclause 3. Hence, the taking and retention of DNA samples which are in the nature of physical evidence does not face constitutional hurdles in the Indian context. Thank you.